Livemix Pro is a new personal monitor system by Digital Audio Labs. Livemix Pro is up to 64 channels over Dante at 96K, so this thing is really loaded. When we released the original Livemix system, it was 24 channels, and one of the big bonuses was the CS Duo, which is 2 mixes in a single box. This allowed you to get less clutter on stage, and actually was quite a bit cheaper because you have one box that you pay for and 2 people can use it. So we've done the same thing with Livemix Pro, except we've expanded it to up to 64 channels. As channel systems grow, as consoles grow, most systems are 32 channels and more, it gets easier and easier just to do more things with those extra channels. We can have stereo guitars, we can have multiple keyboards on stage, and they all burn up channels that need to be monitored. So with 64 channels, you've got enough to do everything that you need to do. So Livemix Pro is scalable, so you can have it be a 16 channel system, 32 channel system, 48 channel system, or 64 channel system. What's great about that is if you don't need them, you're not going to see them, the extra channels. So let's say you're in a church, house of worship, and you're usually using 32 channels. That's going to be fine for 50 weeks out of the year. But then you have a special service and you have an orchestra, or you have a bigger choir. Now you can expand the system to 48 or more, and it's still super easy to mix. We're going to go into how we do that to make it really easy for volunteers and musicians and those who say they know what they're doing, but we all know that they don't. We're going to be able to go into that and show you exactly how you can do that and make Livemix Pro into a really simple system to use, even though it's got a lot of really robust capabilities. Let's start off with the Livemix Pro anatomy. What are the different components of the Livemix Pro system? First, the personal mixers. There are 3 personal mixers in the Livemix Pro line. You have the Pro Solo, which is a single mixer unit. You have the Pro Solo MD, which includes a mic preamp for your built-in intercom, so you can use an external mic with a built-in intercom. And then the Pro Duo, which has the 2 mixes in one. So we're going to get into all of those things here in this video, but let's just go through what's the anatomy, what's on all of these. So each unit has a headphone output. So you've got an 1/8 inch jack and you've got a 1/4 inch. So if you have big cans or in-ear monitors, it's super easy. Both run the same output. You've got the mix port in, that's where you get power and all your mix information, your channel information. With the Solo and Solo MD, there's a mix port through that allows you to power a second unit. There are 3 knobs. You have a master volume knob, the adjust knob, and the me volume knob. Then you also have the intercom. We'll talk about each of these features at length here in just a second. The Livemix Pro Duo has your 2 mixes in one, so everything is mirrored. You have the A side and the B side, a blue mix, and then a red mix. Then you have all of your controls, your master volume, your me volume, and your adjust knob, also mirrored on the other side. So you're getting 2 discrete mixers in one box, separate headphone ports on the front and the back, so everything is totally discrete. You're not sharing mixes at all, you're only sharing the box. This cuts down on your stage clutter and also your cost. The Livemix Pro 16 and the Livemix Pro 32 are your mix hubs, the main distribution center to send power and all the mixes out to the personal mixers. These units have front panel Ethercon connectors. As you'll see here, on the Mix 16, you have 8 ports. Each of these mix ports carries 2 mixes. That is why on the CS Duo, there's an A mix, which is blue, the B mix, which is red. When you do a pass-through with the Pro Solo and the Pro Solo MD, the first mix is your A mix and is blue. That second pass-through mix is your B mix and is red. So that's how you get 16 mixes with just 8 ports. Likewise, the Pro 32 has 16 mix ports, which give you 32 total mixes. You'll see here also on the front, you've got a USB slot. This is for firmware updates. And then on the back, you have your built-in primary and secondary Dante ports and your DA-8 mix outs. So your DA-8 ports connect to a Livemix Pro DA-8. The DA-8, it's what you would feed wireless in your monitors. It's the output, the analog output box. The Livemix Pro DA-8 has 8 analog outputs that are stereo, so they can connect to your wireless in-ear monitor system. And that way, you can use the mixer itself to use what we call Softroute. Softroute allows you to route a mix to an output easily. You don't have to dig in the back of the rack to find out what goes where. You just select it and then choose where it goes. We'll go into a little bit deeper features on Softroute here in just a minute. The Livemix Pro personal mixers all feature a large touchscreen. I mean, let's face it, in this world, if you see a screen, it better be a touchscreen. You better be able to touch it. So with Livemix, you've got a touchscreen, and all of the information you need to make good mixes lives on this screen. The Livemix Pro personal mixers have a large touchscreen. This allows you to do almost all of your mix parameters, everything you need, in conjunction with the hard knobs. So when I look at this unit, what I'm going to see is the big prominent name here. This is the name of this particular mix. In this case, I have bass and I have guitar on the same box. Then underneath, it's going to tell me what port it's on. In this case, it's port 1A. That's what port it's connected to on the front of the Pro 16 or Pro 32. Then each cell, you have 16 cells that represent your mixes or your channels. I've got the name of the channel. I've got a little percent sign that tells me what the volume level is, but you can also see the volume level visually represented. I've got the name of the channel, and that can be anything that you name it. We've got it named here kick, the snare up, snare down, hi-hat, etc. You have got the channel number, and you've got a little VU meter, so you can see that that channel is active. If you see the blue triangle in the corner, that means that cell is part of a group. So when I adjust it, you'll see all of those adjusting as a group. A white outline indicates that a track is selected. And then if there are two separate colors, that means it's part of a stereo group. On the side, we've got the menu system. I can easily go with next channels. I can go to and scroll through each of the banks of 16 to see all the channels in the system until I get to the 4 accessory channels. I can also press load save, and that's where I get to my load save mix. And I can save up to 32 slots directly on this box, or I can plug in a USB stick and save another 32 mixes onto the USB stick, which is helpful if you want to save your mix and then take it to another system, or if you want to just save your mix and take it with you. And then you've got Mix Tools. Mix Tools brings up the menuing system, and we'll talk about each of the features in that menuing system here in just a moment. In addition to this touchscreen, each of the knobs have a secondary function. So the master volume, if I press it, I go into my master section. Now I can adjust my overall EQ, my overall compression, my overall high pass filter, the reverb, and then the output configuration. If I have my Mi volume and I press the Mi volume, that is going to switch my mix mode. That's going to go from channel mix mode to group mix mode, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. When I select the adjust knob, it's volume, and I press down and it switches over to pan. So you get your left and right panning by just pressing down on the adjust knob. Makes it really easy to make a mix. The top line on this screen is going to have a bank of icons that just give you some status indications. You'll see a solo if a channel is soloed. You'll see mute if a channel is muted. You'll see if you're in group mode or channel mix mode. You'll be able to see, especially on the CS Duo, if the two sides are linked. And we'll also be able to see if the intercom is active. Additionally, the system is set up where there are long presses. So we hide these features with a long press because for 98% of your day-to-day mixing, it's not something you're going to use. But if I long press on a certain cell, it's going to pull up a single channel view where I only see one channel at once. Likewise, then I can long press on the effects and I can bring up my effects menu. So there's some shortcuts that are activated by a long press, but those are for folks that really know what they're doing, that really want to get into the details. For the most part, we say to people, if you see something and it's not where you need to be, just press the home button and get back to your home. Livemix Pro offers a number of mix views. The first is what we call channel view. That's where you can see all of the channels in the system broken up into pages of 16, and that's going to show right on the front of your screen. The second is your group view. Your group view allows you to see all of the 16 groups in the system. And actually, when you are in group mode, you can mix directly on that page. You're mixing groups, and it's really easy. The expanded view allows you to see all of the channels in that group. So it's very easy in group mode to click expanded view and then mix in expanded view. So you see all the channels in there. So if it's my drum group, I can easily go into my expanded view, adjust my kick, and then go back to my group view. It's just 2 presses and you're done. Very easy to make mix changes at the channel level and also at the group level. The other view is the single channel view. In the single channel view, you access through that long press on any channel when you're in channel view. And that's going to bring up all of the information pertaining to a single channel. You're going to see the VU, you're going to see the channel name, you're going to see what group it's in, you're going to see the channel number, you'll see what effect preset is set up, if there is one, the volume, the pan, then if it has reverb applied, if it's muted, and if it's soloed. So it's a one page for all of your mix information. We don't really anticipate that you would use it that often, but it's really good to go in there and see sometimes if you need a better view of the VU or you need to set the reverb. Livemix Pro gives you 4 accessory channels that are built in. So let's talk about how to adjust them and what exactly they are. So on your channel overview, I'm just going to go to previous channel and I'm going to see then all of my 4 accessory channels. You could also go next channel, next channel, next channel. Previous channel when I was on 1 is the easy way to go. The built-in ambient mic, there is a microphone built into the box, so I can adjust my ambient mic. So I'm now bringing in that room noise into my in-ear monitors, which is really handy, especially if people are just getting used to using in-ear monitors. I've got an intercom, that's my built-in intercom. I'm gonna press and hold my intercom button and it speaks to the whole team. And then stereo auxiliary input. When I plug a metronome or a phone into my aux input, I can now hear that across the whole system. So let's go into each of the little features and figure out exactly what you can do with them. Ambient mic is ambient mic. There's really no features to adjust. You're just allowing more ambient mic or less. Okay. Intercom. I'm gonna long press on intercom to bring up my single channel view, and I'm gonna see my volume, pan, mute, solo. Pretty simple. I'm gonna go to my auxiliary input, long press auxiliary input. I've got the same setup here in my single channel view, but 2 extra options. I have a share aux and a monitor all. So I plug in my phone, I've got a song that we're gonna rehearse, so I want everyone to hear it. I'm playing it. I hit share aux, and that allows that auxiliary channel to go out to all the mixers, or I can go to monitor all. Monitor all lets me hear everyone else's. So if you're using a metronome, let's say, I may want to share my metronome with everybody, but I don't want to hear everybody else, so I'm just going to have share aux on. Or if I don't want to share the metronome and it's just for me because everyone else for some reason doesn't like to hear it, then I would just have both of those off. If I want to hear other people's aux channels, I'm going to hit monitor all. By default, the monitor all and share aux are going to be selected so that just out of the box, it's going to work really well. Livemix Pro offers a number of ways of mixing. So you can mix in the channel view, which would be to see all of the channels at once, and you press a cell, move the adjust knob, and you adjust your volume, and I press down and move the pan. Really easy. Now this works really great if you're a system of 16 channels, 24 channels, even maybe up to 32 that lives on 2 pages. But as you start to get beyond that, it starts to get harder to remember where everything is and to mix all of these individual channels by paging through to the different channel pages. So what we recommend is moving into group mode. In group mode, you can set all of those channels into individual groups. So I might have a drum group, I might have a bass group, and maybe there's only 1 channel in the bass group. That's okay. Then I might have guitars, maybe my worship leader, lead vocalist, background vocalist, whatever you want, you can set that up. One of the nice things about Group View too is this is a place where you can configure the kind of layers, if you will, to work for exactly how you work. So you could put the kick alone in a group and have it be in the first cell. But if you wanted it in the last cell, you could do that as well. So it makes it really easy to do that. Another way you can mix is with the expanded view. So in the expanded view, let's say we have 32 channels total, but really I'm only going to be mixing 10. I can put those 10 channels into a group and I can move to expanded view, and now I can live on that group, live on that page of expanded channels. There's a lot of different ways with Livemix Pro that you can mix, and that's what really makes it easy, because although it sounds confusing when I'm throwing all this information at you, the reality is Livemix system comes down to you have a name on a channel, I press the channel I want to change, and I move my adjust knob. That's it. It's super easy. And one of the great things about using a knob in this case is a lot of folks haven't ever mixed with faders. Now, those of us studio guys, faders, we use faders all the time. It makes a lot of sense. Other people have never mixed with a fader. In our cars, it's a knob. In our home stereos, it's a knob. Everything is just kind of knob based. So by having an adjust knob, it makes it really easy for people to just intuit what you're supposed to do. One of the things I like to do is I have a group that's kind of everything that I need. So as a bass player, it's going to be bass. I'm going to throw kick, snare, I'm going to throw hi-hat in there. I might put the lead vocal and maybe the lead instrument, lead guitar. So I've got 6 channels that live in that group. Now what I can do on the next group is I put almost everything else. Now I can assign the everything else to my Mi knob. Now I know it's counterintuitive, it says Mi knob on it, and what we've effectively made is this is a not Mi knob. But now I live in my expanded view with the 6 channels that I care about. Everything else is on the Mi knob, and so I can turn everyone else up or down very easily, and I can turn my kick, my bass, everything else that's really critical to me up really easily. So it really allows me to distill this down and work the way I work, and now I'm not worried about 64 channels, I'm worried about 6 plus not me. Your mileage obviously may vary on this. You can do it however you want, you can set it up, and when we talk about MirrorMix remote mixing, you're going to see how you can set this up for other people and mix it in a way that makes sense to them as well. Setting up groups in the Livemix Pro system is incredibly simple. Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to press Mix Tools. Now, because this is a local feature that applies to this box, this mix only, I don't need to go to my gear menu, but I'm going to go into the Group Setup window. Now I can see all of the cells, the 16 group cells. What I can do now is press a cell. And the easiest thing to do is going to be to name that. So I'm going to say that I'm going to group name. And then on my screen keyboard popped up, I'm going to name those groups, and I can go to the next group and the next group, get all those names done. All right, so now I've got all the names of my groups. Now I'm going to press drums, and on the side here, I'm going to say assign channels to group. Now I'm going to select all of my drums, and then I'm going to hit back. All my drums are now in a group. Now I'm going to go to guitars, assign channels to group. Press all my guitar channels, press back. All my guitars are now in a group. Now the Mi knob, I can assign to any one of these groups really easily. So if I'm a drummer, I'm going to select my drum group, assign Mi knob, and then you're going to see the Mi icon that indicates that your Mi volume is now attached to that group. Livemix Pro allows you to save up to 32 individual mixes per box. So you make your mix, you're going to go ahead and save it. You're going to save it something that makes sense. For me, it's going to be Andy's mix, or it's going to be bass, and I'm going to save it right onto my box. So here's how I do that. Right on the front screen, it has a load save mix. So I press load save mix. I select an empty cell. I hit save selected. Now the keyboard comes up and I name it. I'm going to name it Andy's mix, and I'm going to hit save. That has just saved my mix into that slot. Now, whenever I make a change to my mix, I'm going to see an asterisk show up next to my Andy's mix. Now I can go back, load save the mix again, press that cell, hit save selected, and hit save, and that's going to save my mix. Or we've actually added a feature where you can quick save by just long pressing, again on that top bar. It says quick save current mix to eternal slot 5. Yes, and I've quick saved. So I don't even have to leave my screen in order to save my mix. The other thing that you're going to want to save is your global template or your global configuration. So in order to save your global configuration, again, that's all of your channel data. It's going to save all of your effects data. It's going to save all your configuration for the global, like passcodes and those kind of things. You do that by going to Mix Tools, and then I'm going to hit the Settings gear, because that's what moves me into the global menu. And then I'm going to hit Load Save Config, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select an empty cell, Save Selected, name my configuration, and press Save. Now, if you're using a USB stick, you can expand this and save another 32 positions on that USB stick, both the saved mixes and also your global configuration files. You just plug a USB stick into the front, and then this little window pops up that says switch to USB, and I've got access to now all of the USB slots. They look just like the mixer slots, but it says USB, and you can save to the USB. When we talk about features in Livemix Pro, we'll talk about features that are either local or global. The local features pertain to the mixer in front of you only. It pertains to your mix, and everything you do that's local will impact what you hear or what you see on your box. The global parameters affect everything in the system. So channel names, that's a global parameter. If I change the channel name through one of the personal mixers, it's going to reflect for everybody. The effects, those are a global parameter. When I set an effect preset, that's going to apply for everybody. Now we did that especially with 64 channels. If you have 10 people on stage and 64 channels, that's 640 channels of EQ and compression that most people don't need to be messing around with. You set it up once and it's going to work for everybody. And these are very subtle effects. These aren't drastic changes. If you have to make drastic changes, you're going to do that on the mixing console and not on the personal mixer itself. Another feature that makes Livemix Pro so easy to mix is hotkeys. We have 2 hotkeys up here at the top of your menu bar. Now you can set this to any number of features that work for you and how you mix. So I'm going to go in here to Mix Tools, and then Local Mix Options, and then Hotkey Setup. Now when I look at Hotkey Setup, I can see all of the different hotkeys that I can assign to these 2 slots. I have Switch between Group and Channel View. That allows me to switch between the group view and the channel view. I can switch between the expanded view and the group view. I can set it up to MirrorMix. That's the remote mixing feature. So you can directly jump into your MirrorMix remote mixing to mix other people. Master Mute, that allows you to mute the master by pressing just the hotkey. Clear Mute and Clear Solo, these are actually what I use at the top of my key. I like to mix with solo. So I'll do a channel, all my groups, let's say, and I'll solo it and then mix that group. Then I'll move on to the next one, solo it and mix that group. It's really nice for me to have clear solo because I can just clear out that solo easily. My auxiliary input mute. So Livemix has a auxiliary input. The auxiliary input allows you to play a metronome, or maybe use your phone and listen to a track that you're learning or rehearsing, practicing. That can be shared with the entire group, or it can be just for your personal mixer, but that allows you to mute that. Then you have Quick Save, which you can set up to Quick Save, but it also does the same thing as doing that long press on the channel bar. Adjust All Channels. When I press Adjust All Channels, all of the channels get into a temporary group. They just get all lumped together, and I can adjust the volume up or down. Single channel view, that goes to the single channel view that was discussed earlier. Global dim, the global dim feature allows you to press the button and all of the LED screens across all of the personal mixers are going to dim. Group setup goes into your group setup mode. Master output settings gets your EQ compression for your master output, and accessory channels jumps to your 4 built-in accessory channels. So those are all the options you have for hotkeys. You can select any of those two to live up on your top bar for easy access. In the original Livemix system, it had EQ, compression and reverb on every channel, just like Livemix Pro. One of the drawbacks though was reverb was on all channels. It was either on or off. That's not so bad for most things, but you know, bass, kicks, typically frowned upon to have a lot of reverb on that. The click with reverb can be kind of annoying. So with Livemix Pro, we've fixed that, and you can select reverb on or off for each channel. And here's how we do that. We're going to press Mix Tools, Reverb Channels, and then simply select which channels you want the reverb to apply to. And then I'm going to hit back to leave that screen. All those reverb channels now have reverb. Additionally, in that screen, if I wanted to, I can select all channels, or I can deselect all channels. So we can start from scratch or add all of them and just say, well, I don't want kick. So now I'm going to turn the kick off. Now I've got reverb on all channels except for my kick. I hit back and I'm set to go. Now to set the reverb parameters, I'm going to go to my master output. So I'm going to press here the EQ and reverb on the master volume, go to reverb, and I can select small room, medium room, large room, and I can set the reverb amount. Personally, I like to have a higher reverb amount with a smaller reverb. So I might do a medium room with a lot of reverb on the amount. But you can choose whatever you want to, obviously, and it just sounds really fantastic. One of the benefits of adding reverb is, especially when people are going into in-ear monitors, it really does help them correct a little bit, especially vocalists. They can hear their voice, they hear the reverb on it, and allows them to correct a little bit faster than if you don't have reverb. So reverb is definitely a plus on a lot of channels. Livemix Pro has this really great feature to adjust all the channels at once. Now, this is in the system because of me. I'm a bass player, so my instrument has a lot of headroom. It requires a lot of headroom. So I go through and I mix everybody else, and I'm like, ah, man, this is a really great mix. And then I go to add myself, and I have no more room. I can't get loud enough. So what do? I adjust all channels. So there's two ways to get there. The fastest way is if I press and hold the adjust knob for 5 seconds, it's going to throw everything into those channels. I can press the knob or dial the knob back to scale everything back, press the knob to go out of the adjust all mode, and then I can adjust my kick back up. Simple as. In addition, I could go to Mix Tools, Local Mix Options, and adjust all channels. That's just another way of getting there. Either one does exactly the same thing. Allows you to adjust all of the channels, scale them up or down, so that you can mix to your heart's content and not worry about having to run out of, or even worse, is what I would have to do is you kick down, snare down, hi-hat down. That gets a little tedious across 64 channels. So adjust all channels, it's going to be a lifesaver. Livemix Pro has a really robust remote mixing feature called MirrorMix. MirrorMix allows you to go into any other box on stage and actually hear that mix and then make adjustments to it. So let me show you how that works. I'm going to press Mix Tools, then because this is a local thing, I'm going to press MirrorMix, and now I'm looking at all of the ports, all of the mixes in the system. So now let's say I'm going to select guitar, and now I'm auditioning the guitar mix. I'm no longer hearing my mix, I'm hearing the guitar mix. Now, one of the great things about this is my intercom button now only speaks to that one mix. So in a lot of cases, we'll put one of the solo units back at our front of house mix position. And then every once in a while, I'll just kind of go through people on stage and I'll just listen to their mix. And I can see when somebody's struggling, I can go in and say, hey, you know, I hear that when I listened to your mix, I only heard the toms and hi-hat and none of your vocals. Do you need help? When I'm doing that intercom, it's going directly to them, not to everybody. So then I get the thumbs up, and I'm going to go ahead and press the global, I'm going to go ahead and press the MirrorMix. I'm going to hit Remote Mix, and now it turns orange so that I know I'm not on the red side or the blue side, but I'm actually mixing someone else. Now all the changes I make on my box are reflected in their box. My intercom still only talks directly to them, so now I can ask them, is that better? And I can get the thumbs up. We have a global mirror mix mode. Now global mirror mix, if I select that, allows me to select multiple ports at once. Now when those are selected, I can select share volume pan. So all of my volume and pan settings from my box are going to go out to those ones that I've selected. I can press share saved mix, and now it's going to bring up my saved mix screen, and I can select Andy's mix that I did before, hit share mix, and that's going to share my mix with everyone. So this is handy if you're setting up, let's say, a background vocalist mix. You can go through, do the basics of the background vocalist mix, and then push that out to all the background vocalists, just select them all and send it out all at once. Then I can also share groups. So sharing groups is really important. If, let's say, again, you have the background vocalist, you can set up a group set up for them and then share it to all the background vocalists. Let's say you have frontline vocalists, you can set a different set of groups and send it to them. So then as the person who's administering the system, or maybe it's just the smartest guy in the room, I wouldn't know, I've never been one, I can set that up for other people and then just share those out. Makes it a much easier experience for those who are less comfortable using one of these to mix 64 channels. And let's face it, that's a lot of channels for most people to mix. Livemix Pro also has mute and solo features. In the single channel view, you can get there with a long press on a cell. I can press mute, I can press solo. The respective indicators come at the top, the M and the S, to show that it's muted and soloed. But I can also set it up for a quick mute or quick solo. How I'm going to do that is go to Mix Tools, Local Mix Options, Mute Solo Setup, and now I can select that a double tap is off, double tap to mute, or double tap to solo. Personally, I use the double tap to solo because then if I need to solo, let's say, a group or a channel, I just double tap it and it's going to solo it. Double tap again and the solo is going to turn off. It would be the same if you're using a mute. It's just double tap, and you're good. If you're using the Livemix Pro Solo MD, there's some additional features because of the external mic that you can use with the intercom. So I'm going to get there by going to Mix Tools and then Local Mix Options, Accessory Setup. So now in my accessory setup, I have the aux input channel, monitor all, or share aux, the same thing that you saw on the single channel view. But then on the intercom channel, I can select external mic preamp on, then I can set it up. External mic setup. Now I can set my microphone gain, I can select phantom power, I can turn on a high pass filter, and then I can adjust the function of my intercom button. It can be always on, it can be latch, which means once I push it, it's on, I push it again and it's off, or push to talk, which activates the intercom as long as the intercom button is being held. 3 separate features for the intercom button when you're using an external mic. Livemix Pro also offers the ability to change how the screen works in terms of dimness and brightness. So how I'm going to do that is go to Mix Tools, Local Mix Options, Display Settings. In Display Settings, I can set the brightness of my screen. I can select Auto Dim, so if the Auto Dim is on, it'll automatically dim after a few seconds, and then Menu Timeout. Personally, I have the menu timeout at 7 seconds. So when I go, as I know the menu system pretty well, I'm going to go through and then it's going to revert back to that main menu screen after 7 seconds. If I wanted to turn it off, I can do that. So turning it off is a good way to start because now you don't have to worry about that menu disappearing on you while you're trying to read and figure out where everything is. Out of the box, it's going to be default to the off setting, but as you get to learn it a little bit more, I recommend that you would switch it to a certain amount of seconds. So then when you're making a mix change, doing something with a menu, you don't have to worry about going back to get to your home screen. It'll automatically return you. Getting started with the Livemix Pro system is quite easy. Almost all of the setup happens on one of the personal mixers itself. So the first thing we recommend doing is set your max channels. So that's going to define how many total channels are you using in the Livemix system. So now these are going to be global features. So I am going to go into my global menu by hitting Mix Tools and then the gear setting. And now I'm going to go to channel setup. So in channel setup, the first thing I'll do is set max channels, and I will select how many channels I want to use. So in this case, let's say I go to 32, I'm going to hit commit, and it's going to warn me. And so I want to, it wants to make sure that you're comfortable with this decision. So I'm going to hit continue, and then it may drop out for a minute when you do that big of a change, but it'll only take a few seconds and it'll come right back. The next thing we would recommend is to set your clock. Again, this is Mix Tools, the settings, gear, and then we're going to go to utilities and set clock. Then you can use your adjust knob to adjust, select the hour, adjust knob, select the minute, adjust knob, year, month, and day. This just allows us to time code all of your saved files, especially when you're working with a USB file. The next thing is to go into the channel naming. So here's how we get to channel names. We are going to press the Mix Tools, and we're going to hit the global gear, channel setup, and then the button that says channel naming. So that's going to bring up the keyboard where you can press, type in the name. Then I can go to next channel, and just continue to do that for as many channels as I've got in the system. There's a copy and paste button here. So if it's, let's say, background vocal, you can just type background vocal 1, then copy it, switch it to background and paste to the next channel, background vocal 2, etc. Also in the channel naming screen, you can select the channel number and then use the adjust knob to scroll through them. That makes it much quicker to get to, let's say, channel 38. You can just scroll through it with the adjust knob. The next thing we recommend is set up your channel presets. So those are the effects. Now there's a bank of presets that are already in the system, and they're actually really quite good. In all my time using Livemix system, I've only ever once had somebody say, yeah, could you change that? There's a little bit too much compression on my voice. I just went in and made the change. Most of the time I'm going to use the channel presets. They're just, trust me, they're really good. Here's how I get there. Mix Tools, then I press the gear window, channel setup, and then channel effects. So at the channel effects screen, I can select the preset, or I can actually go in and do the detailed work of my compression, my EQ. Now there's a 5-band EQ on this. You can set your high and low. You have a plus and minus 6 dBs to go. Like I said, this is subtle. This isn't sound sculpting, if you will. This isn't corrective mixing. This is just kind of sweetening things, making it sound a little bit better. And then you can actually adjust the frequency as well. And you can scale it all the way down from 25 up to 16K. So there's a lot of range with these EQs. And then you also have a high pass filter. So there's a lot that you can do with each of the channel effects on the Livemix Pro system. The next thing we recommend is to set up the stereo and mono. So each channel can be set up to a stereo mode. The stereo mode is going to link two adjacent channels. It's going to start with an odd and link to an even. So it's always going to start with an odd and link to an even. You can't start with 2 and link to 3, so just keep that in mind when you're setting this up. I'm going to press Mix Tools, my gear button to get into the global features. I'm going to go to channel setup and then stereo mono setup. It will give me a scare box to let you know that what you're going to do is going to affect everybody, and hit continue. And now I can easily select which 2 sets of channels together are going to be in stereo. Then when you go to the channel view, you're going to see that the stereo is represented by, when it's selected, you'll see both channels kind of selected, but the main one that you touched first is going to have a white border around it. And then you'll see, in this case, it's overheads. So I'm going to see 07L and then 08R to signify that they are a stereo pair. With Livemix Pro, we've given you a couple options to make some of this a little bit easier. The first is Dante Import. I'm going to press my Mix Tools, and then I'm going to press my gear to go into the global features. I'm going to press Channel Setup, and now I'm going to go to CSV Dante Import. Now, when I'm on this screen, I have the option of selecting Import from Dante or Input from USB. So I'm going to press Import from Dante. It's going to read the channel names, and then it's going to allow me to import the channel names directly from the channel labels on the Dante network. So one press, and you've got all of the channel names named. Alternately, let's go back here and hit import from USB, CSV. So what you can do is on our website, there is a tool that allows you to put in all your channel names. You can select whether that channel is stereo or mono. You can put the effect preset and then save it to a CSV file. And when you put it into the USB stick, put it into the USB drive and go import from USB, that's going to pop up with all of your options for your CSV files. So let's say I have, let's say I'm running the studio and I see that in the next 3 days I've got 3 separate bands. They're totally discrete bands that's going to require a quick change. I can go in on Monday morning and I can adjust all of those names. So band 1, I'm going to put in, save it to a CSV file. Band 2, I'm going to name all those, save it to a CSV file. Band 3, going to name all those channels, save it to a CSV file, put it on a USB stick. And now, in between sets, I just hit import from USB, band 1. It's all populated. I switch to the next band, band 2, and it's all populated. So it's a really quick and easy way to mix, to name your whole system really easy using that online tool. And you can use a QR code that will flash here, or you can go to our website, digitalaudio.com, and find the access to that CSV import tool. Livemix Pro works out of the box with Yamaha DM-7 and Yamaha Rivage consoles. So you can use those consoles to route all of the audio into the Livemix Pro system without using Dante Controller. One of the things that you need to do is to set up the Livemix Pro so that Yamaha can see it. And we can do that directly on the personal mixer. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Mix Tools. I'm going to press the gear because this is a global function, Utilities, and then set Dante device name. You'll see a scare box to let you know that that you're doing something that could cause the audio to drop out. I'm going to press Continue. And now I can see the device name. I can, from here, restore it to the original name. I can set the device name to whatever I want it to be, or I can set Yamaha ID. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to set the Yamaha ID. I can scroll from Y001 up to Y009. So each unique Livemix Pro system, you're going to want to have a different Yamaha name. So in this case, it's Y001. I'm going to hit commit. Then I'm going to hit commit again, and it'll say, are you sure you want to change the name? I'll say, yes, I am. And there you go. So now when you go to your Yamaha console, Livemix Pro will show up automatically. Livemix Pro has out-of-the-box compatibility with the Yamaha DM-7 and Rivage consoles. So you can set up all of your Dante patching directly on the console. Let me show you how to do that. First, we're going to go to the settings, and then we're going to go to I/O device, if that's not already selected. Next, we're going to go to Dante Setup. In the Dante Setup, we can select an empty slot there, and now we can scroll down until we find Livemix Pro. You'll see the image of the Mix or the Pro 16 or Pro 32 on there, and you would hit OK. Now in this case, we've already got this on the Dante network, so we're going to hit Online to see the device list. We'll see that the Yamaha 001 DAL Livemix Pro is already there. You would just hit OK, and you're good to go. Next, let's talk about how to patch it. So now we are going to go to Dante Patch. We are going to select the device, and then we're going to select the top source. Now we're going to find out however many channels you want to assign. In this case, we're going to do 48. So I'm going to put 48 into the sequential patch, press Dante 1, hit OK, and it will populate all of those Dante channels. And now all of the channels that were coming into the Yamaha DM-7 are routed out to the Livemix Pro. If you don't have a Yamaha DM-7, you want to use the Dante Controller to set up your Dante routing. Now what happens is you have receivers. These are the devices that can receive audio signal, and transmitters. These are the ones sending an audio signal. So what we're going to do is we are going to route the Livemix Pro from the Yamaha, which is sending, to Livemix Pro, which is receiving. So what we're going to do is click this down and we can see all the channels. And then we're going to open up right here where we can see the transmitting channels on the Yamaha. And in order to assign channel 1 from Yamaha to one On Livemix, we just go through and select them, and you'll see the check mark. There is a shortcut. If you hover over this minus sign and press Control, it'll automatically populate channel 1 on the Yamaha to 1 on Livemix. If you're using Dante Controller, this is where you can also set up any additional and deeper features. So let's go to device info. You can see that you've got the Livemix Pro, and we've got the Yamaha here. Let's go to the clock status. You can see that in this case, the DM-7 is the leader, and it's the preferred leader. In most cases, it's going to make the most sense for the non-Livemix Pro unit to be the preferred leader. So to access, if I double click this, or there's menu items I can use up here to get to the same place, I can go to status and see information about my Livemix Pro, the latency. Most of the time what you'll use is device config. So this is where you set the sample rate to make sure that the sample rates in all the Dante systems match. And you might want to look at the network config. Usually this is going to be done by the Dante network automatically, but switched mode, and you can select redundant mode. In switched mode, each of the 2 ports on the back of the Pro 16 and Pro 32 are the same. They act like a network switch, so they'll both access the same network. In redundant mode is when you would use redundant mode if you're going to use multiple Dante networks. In case one goes down, it switches to the other. So the primary and secondary act entirely independent. In most installations, the switched mode is what is going to work the best. Also in Dante Controller, you will see Livemix Pro show up as a transmitting device. That is for those 2-channel mixes that are going to be automatically published back to Dante. So in this case, if you want to assign the port 1A, let's say it's your bass mix, you can take, it's going to be on Dante 1 and Dante 2, and I can assign that out to some other room. This is actually a really handy feature if you're in a house of worship or a church and you have a nursing mom's room or an overflow room that you want to send audio, but you don't want to pull it off the main feed because that room maybe doesn't have a sub or something like that. You can do your whole nursing mom's room mix on Livemix, send that 2-channel mix out to that nursing mom's room, and then you've just got a single Cat5 cable to connect the 2 rooms, and you're good to go. I'll also use it as a streaming mixer. So I will mix things for streaming on Livemix and then send that back out and record on a computer so I can use that to record a service, especially in a church service. You can record it to send out to YouTube or Facebook or whatever. Every channel in Livemix Pro has EQ and compression, but you can also apply EQ and compression to the master output, the 2-channel output that you hear in your headphones. So the easiest way to do that is to, on the master volume, press the knob that goes to my EQ and reverb section, and now I can adjust the compression for the master, my EQ, which is a 4-band EQ, and then I can press here to adjust my frequencies. I can go here and adjust my mids down, my low mids down, adjust my highs up, my lows up, and a perfect smiley face. And we're going to just call that the guitar player mix. And then we're going to go to high pass filter. You can put a high pass filter on your master output, and then reverb. We just talked about how to set the reverb. You can set your reverb amounts here, and then output config. So in the output config, it allows me to set my peak limit amount. That's just going to be a limiter. So you move this up higher, it's going to be more limiting. Down lower, less limiting. I have a balanced mono output option. This changes my output to be balanced mono instead of a stereo headphone out. This is really handy when, let's say you wanted to go to powered floor wedges. You can run your powered floor wedges off of your personal mixer here. I just go into balanced mono output mode so that I can run that powered floor wedge. Now, when you're in that mode, the intercom, the auxiliary input is not going to come out. So if you're wondering where did my intercom go, we just thought we'd spare you the embarrassment of having the intercom be played over the floor wedge. Then you can also set the master mute output, which mutes the whole master. So obviously everything goes silent. Livemix Pro has a number of features that we're putting under the heading of utilities. So let's go there. Mix tools, then I'm going to hit the global gear because this is a global feature, and I'm going to hit utilities. In my utilities, I have the global mute that allows you to mute globally. So this is kind of a destructive feature and we don't use it very often, but there are some installations. Livemix has been used in some reality shows where they're controlling various mics and they want to mute it, but mute, if I clicked mute on channel 7, I want it muted for channel 7 across the entire system. That's what global mute does. So in this case, we're going to set global mute off. We're going to set the clock. Now I'm going to set a passcode. A passcode allows you to protect some of these global features so that not everyone can get in and just kind of mess around with everything that you've done. So I'm going to select a passcode, 1138, of course. And I'm going to say that I want to protect my channel setup. That's the naming and the effects. I can protect that. The global setup, that's everything beyond that gear menu. My global mirror mix, so that people can't send a mix out to everyone in the whole system without knowing the passcode. And then I'm going to protect firmware update. I'm going to hit back to go out. It's going to give me a scare box and make sure that I know that I'm making a change that's going to impact the global system. And now I set my passcode. Let's finish this up looking through the utilities with the backup configuration. The backup configuration allows you to take all of those 32 save slots and save it to a USB stick or restore from a USB stick. So if you have multiple configurations that you need to save because you're sending in your Livemix system for repair or swapping it out with another one, you can save all those and then load it onto the new system. And then version info. Version info shows all of my firmware versions across the whole system. I can see the Pro Solo versions, I can see my Pro 1632 version, the Dante network version, and then a DA-8 version of DA-1 or DA-8-2 if I have those connected. The Livemix Pro DA-8 is your analog output box that allows you to assign any of the mixes from your personal mixer to, let's say, a wireless in-ear monitor system. Now, there are some really cool features about this, and we're going to configure it all on the Softroute. So what we're going to do, first you have it in your rack, you've got it plugged in with a DB25, or you've got it connected with TRS that are on the back of the DA-8. And now I'm going to go into Mix Tools. And then this is global, so I'm going to hit the global gear and go into Softroute. So when I hit Softroute, I'm going to see all the available output ports on the DA-8s. So you can connect 2 DA-8s for a total of 16 stereo outputs to the back of any Mix 16 or Pro 16 or Pro 32. I'm going to see all those here. I'm going to select a port and then I'm going to hit Output ID. I love this. When I hit Output ID, I see the port flashing on the front of the DA-8, and now I'm hearing a test tone. So I was at an event and they handed me a bunch of wireless belt packs and just said, here, hand these out, for your monitoring. And I was like, well, which one is connected to which? They're like, oh, just go in the back and just kind of trace the cables. I'm like, oh, come on. Output ID, hand them out. Who hears the test tone? All right. Andy hears the test tone. So now I'm going to hit the cell. I'm going to hit Assign Mix, hit Andy. Now Andy is coming out of port 1. I'm going to go to the next port and I'm going to assign them just that same way. Just go through each one, see who hears the tone, and then assign them. If you know what they are, you don't need to use the test tone. But this is really cool. We have a pretty famous user who uses Livemix for their entire front of house or their entire monitoring desk. And so he's got a guitar mix and a keyboard mix. So the keyboard mix is set up and he's listening to it, and then he switches to guitar. So the monitor engineer just goes to Assign Mix and switches to his guitar mix. And then he goes back to keys, Assign Mix, back to the keys mix. So it makes it really easy to and extendable to get mixes out to your wireless in-ears without ever tracing anything in the back of a rack, which if you really like that kind of thing, you can go for it. You still can. The rest of us will use Output ID. Every 2-channel mix in the Livemix Pro system is going to be automatically published back to the Dante network. Now, one thing that you can do is, in place of the channels at the far end of the spectrum, the 64, left and right, I can send my intercom out to the Dante network. Here's how I do that. I'm going to press Mix Tools, the gear, because this is a global feature, channel setup, and I hit Accessory Publish. Now I can select if I want to use that mix on port 16A, which is going to be channel 61 and 62 on the Dante network, or I can select the intercom instead. So now intercom is going to show up on channel 61. I can do my shared aux instead of mix 16B. So if I select shared aux, the auxiliary input is going to go to channels 63 and 64 on the Dante network. This is really handy if you're going to have a larger system. Let's say you've got 2 mix 16s, you want to make sure that the intercom works across systems. You can publish the intercom and then subscribe it on the other system so that everyone can hear the intercom across both systems. Each Livemix Pro system allows you to back up all of your local mixes. So here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to Mix Tools, Local Mix Options, Backup Local Mixes. Now, when I put in a USB stick, it'll show me that the USB stick is connected. I hit Backup All Mixes. All of the mixes that are saved in this box are now going to be stored to the USB stick. This is really handy if you're going to, let's say, send in a box for repair, or you switch boxes, or for some reason need to restore all those mixes. You just plug the USB stick back in, hit Restore All Mixes, and all your mixes have been saved and get restored to the system. I can do my firmware updates directly from the screen. Updating the firmware in Livemix Pro is incredibly simple. I'm going to download the firmware from the Digital Audio Labs website. I'm going to plug it into the USB port on the front of my Pro 16 or Pro 32. And then I'm going to go to my version info screen, and I go there by hitting the gear menu, Mix Tools, gear menu, utilities, version info, and then I'm going to hit Update Pro Solo, Pro Duo, and it's going to update all of the connected personal mixers at once. You'll see an individual display to show how far along each one is progressing. Then I can hit Update Pro 1632. It's going to update the firmware in the Pro 16 or 32 unit. I can press Update Dante. It's going to update the Dante card that's built in, or update the DA-8s. Now, a little quick trick here. If I go to my Dante version and I long press on this cell, it's going to show me the IP address, the gateway, the DNS servers of the Dante network. So that's a really nice troubleshooting tip if you need that. If you come to your Livemix Pro system and you see the Livemix logo floating around, never fear, that's just a screensaver. In order to protect your screen, after a few minutes of unuse, Livemix logo is going to appear. Just press the screen, the screensaver goes away, and you're mixing again. It's really an easy system to get exactly what you need, but it's also super robust. If you have any questions about it, reach out to us, sales@digitalaudio.com. You can hit us up on our website or our socials. We're available to answer any questions. Livemix Pro is available through all your dealers, through retailers like Sweetwater, Vintage King, Guitar Center Pro. You're going to be able to find it where you need it. And if you have any questions or can't find it, let us know. We'll help you out. Thanks.